There is some misconception about what's taking place tonight, and I hope that each and every one of us takes the moment and the time to take a look closely at what the council is doing and what the staff has done, the planning commission has done, and the recommendations that come before us. And I suspect we'll have a motion shortly with regard to the action item. These revisions to the city's zoning ordinance, like all zoning ordinances, are about reasonable regulations of land use to protect the public health, safety, and welfare while respecting the rights of citizens and private property owners. Zoning ordinances protect adjacent property owners and the public from land use impacts such as noise, odors, light pollution, parking overflow, and traffic congestion. Zoning ordinances also promote prosperity by creating orderly plans for development and redevelopment. The planning staff and planning commission worked long and hard, as you heard Mr. Arcieri say, to bring forward an ordinance that serves the purpose of zoning as set out in Virginia law. The zoning text amendment before us is comprehensive and sweeping in its scope, changing the city's definitions, zoning districts, and general zoning regulations, as well as the process for applying for special use permits. It will benefit the city for many years to come by creating a clear ordinance that promotes development while limiting land use impacts on neighboring properties and the public. Council has heard from the public and has concluded that certain land uses ought to come to the City Council for approval. With a special use permit, the specific land use impacts of a proposal can be evaluated in light of the intensity of the use, the specific location, the character of the surrounding properties, the transportation impacts, and other zoning considerations. So, for example, the City Council has determined to require special use permits for motor vehicle sales and rental for minor motor vehicle repair in the I-1 zone, light industrial district. The Planning Commission had recommended these uses be used as a right, a by right use, but the council wants to be able to evaluate them on a case-by-case basis. While these kinds of motor vehicle shops may be generally compatible in an industrial zone, the land use impacts of such uses, noise, noxious fumes, for example, are potentially harmful to neighboring uses and therefore may require particular conditions to reduce those impacts. For similar reasons, the City Council voted last week to move forward with a draft ordinance requiring special use permits for hospitals and medical care facilities in districts where they are allowed. Compared to medical offices, which such uses have greater need for emergency services, different parking needs, and different hours of operation, which creates a potential for impacts on neighboring properties, businesses, and especially residential areas. When someone applies for a special use permit, the city's planning staff and planning commission recommend approval or denial based on the particular land use impacts of the proposed use at a particular location. City staff and the planning commission make their recommendations based on whether the land use impacts can be reduced through buffering, screening, or other conditions. Council will review each application based on its land use impacts in determining whether to approve or deny it. Let me go back in time just a moment and I'm almost done. The current ordinance was written, our current ordinance that exists right now was first written in 1946, before the city became a city. This update will correct long-standing technical issues and ensure that the ordinance meets all state and federal regulations. The update will also implement our 2032 comprehensive plan, which reflects the community's vision and went through extensive public input. The goal is to incorporate clear development standards.